Okay, excellent. So again, welcome everyone. My name is Daniel Garcia. I'm the manager of credit program administration here at the Creative School, and I'm excited and happy to see you guys and some of you in live cams. Thank you. Here to do the quick OSAP and student financial assistance presentation, mainly just to give you some background information, uh, places to visit, find information, all those different things for so that you're ready and prepared for the upcoming semester. I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues from the credit program administration team. We have Tanisha Boyd. Tanisha, I want to say a quick hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Tanisha. I'm one of the grad program administrators on the team, and I'm so glad that you all are taking the time out to come to this session.
Thank you. And we also have Mohammed Khan. Mohammed, do you want to say a quick hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Mohammed. I'm the academic coordinator, and I'll pretty much be your first point of contact as of September when you officially start your program and help you with everything from registration to enrollment to all that other stuff. But yeah, looking forward to meeting all of you in September.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mohammed. All right, so let's get started. We are going to start with the land acknowledgement. So we are speaking to you from Toronto, Tech Ireland. This city is located in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. And I basically like to invite you to take a look at the website. That's a couple websites that's on the slides. Just basically learn a little more about why we acknowledge the land and, a little bit of the culture of where we are from, in Toronto in this case, or wherever you are. Maybe take a look at that and see, just to know more about the background and the history of the land, which is great. All right. So like I mentioned, we're going to talk about a few things today, just to help you in terms of financing and planning your finance, your, your OSAP and all the different options like that. A couple of things to mention, and this is just kind of just general advice. So I always like to start with is first thing you want to do always obviously is create a budget. I'm sure you are familiar with creating a budget at this point, but it's always very important to make sure you go through the whole process. Now, things that might be slightly different than in graduate studies compared to undergraduate education is that you will be a student for all three terms. So it's very important that when you're planning your budget, you're figuring out how much you're going to spend for accommodation, supplies, food, all those different things. You include all three terms, so fall, winter, and spring, because you need to be continuously enrolled in the program, all three terms. So when you're creating your budget, make sure you include everything in there. We will be sharing the slides later on, by the way, and they'll be out on the website. And so you'll be able to follow all the links. So in this particular slide, there's a budget resources link that you should want to take a look at. It just helps you. It's like a budget template that you can take a look at and see how you can help you plan for how much you can spend, how much money you will need, and obviously help you be successful throughout the program. In terms of once you have your budget, you know more or less how much money you need. Obviously, you want to explore different financial resources. There's a variety of options out there. Awards and scholarships and bursaries, for example. We actually did a presentation about this a couple weeks ago, I believe it is. I'll have the slides and the recording are available on their website. I'll put the website on the chat in a little bit. But you can take a look at those things. But that's usually one of the first things that most people sort of think about in terms of funding their education, so awards, scholarships, and bursaries. So I encourage you to take a look at that. Other options would be government-sponsored loans or student loans, which is like OSAP if you're in Ontario, and if you're out of province and you're a Canadian a domestic student, each province has their own version of that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then lastly, I've also mentioned a little bit about bank student loans and lines of credit and all these other things that are provided more by financial institutions as well. Because the department responsible or the main department that will manage things like OSAP and all those different funding opportunities is the Student Financial Assistance Department, which is part of the registrar's office. So I put the link in here and I'll speak more about them, but really they are the ones that manage a lot of these OSAP applications, the details about specific specific information about your application, or if you're making changes or adjustments halfway through the semester or halfway through the year, things like that, that is the department that you should be contacting. So make sure you write down the phone number. I believe for OSAP specifically, usually by phone, Tuesday to Thursday, 10 to 5 p.m. is the best time to connect with them. We as the department, as well as your program and your host department, we can give you general advice, but we don't actually have access to the applications and like the Student Financial Assistance Office does. So that's why whenever you have a more specific question or changes or adjustments, their best course of action is to contact them directly, because they can actually go into the system and look specifically at your application. All right. So again, that being said, I'll give you sort of like a general overview of different things. I was going to share a whole bunch of links where you can find some of the information. But again, for specifics, always look for contact with the Student Financial Assistance Department. And that applies to, again, like OSAP, out-of-province loans, US loans, for example, international loans, any kind of scholarships like that come externally. They should be able to help you with those kinds of things. They do have an office it's called the Service Hub, but they're located on the main floor of the Podium building on campus. So if you're on campus, you can also visit them in person. Okay, so I'm going to start with OSAP. This is specifically for Ontario domestic students. What is OSAP? It's basically the Ontario Student Assistance Program, which is basically sponsored by the government and help you to pay for your education. It is designed to help you pay for things like books, equipment, supplies, all the different fees and charges, tuition fees and charges that the university will charge you in your account. It also supports some living expenses, as well as depending on your situation. You have children, it may also help with some childcare and support for that. But basically, it is a big application that you'll have to process online, and you give them all your information, all your income, any assets and things like that. And then based on how much that equates to and how much you have to pay for school in terms of tuition fees and all the different supplies, they'll be able to provide they have their own set of formulas and math on the back end. They'll be able to then determine how much money they're able to provide. Now, the money that they provide, a lot of cases, it's a loan, which allows you to basically use the money. You don't pay usually interest until you finish your education. So it could be at the end of, if it's a 1-year program, at the end of 1 year, or if it's a 2-year program, at the end of 2 years, and so on. Usually you have I think it's about 6-month break in between when you finish and when you actually have to start begin paying. But it's a really good support system for you to be able to afford education, basically. I won't get too much into the specifics, but I'll show you some links in a minute. There's also some grants that are part of OSAP. Depending on your specific situations, you may qualify for those. And a lot of that happens in a sense automatically when you submit your OSAP application. They will give you the information as to, hey, you, based on your income, based on the details that you submitted, you qualify for this grant, or you qualify for this other bursary, or different things like that. So the important thing is for you is to make sure that you submit all the requirements when you're completing the online application via the OSAP website. Okay. So like I said, this is specifically for Ontario residents and obviously Canadian citizens, or domestic students, I should say. For out-of-province students, each province has their own version of OSAP. I'll have a link next that you can actually check out to connect with them. The important thing is that you'll have to take a look at their website for eligibility and to make sure that you qualify and you can apply. OSAP is not applicable for international students. International students will basically have to look at their own country for any kind of government support or student loans that they're able to provide. A couple tips in terms of submitting or providing your OSAP information. One of the very important things is OSAP is its own sort of entity. So you have to submit all your documents directly to them via the OSAP portal. So you don't submit anything through us, through the school, or through the department. The Student Financial Assistance Office, they can help you out with different, if you have questions, or to sign some documents, or to do things like that. But the actual submission has to happen via the OSAP portal. So you got to make sure that you go there, create an account, have your login, save it somewhere safe, and make sure that you could log in, upload documents and everything in there. And just once in a while check, because sometimes they'll send you a message. Usually you get an email notification, but they'll send you some messages in case there's anything else that is required, or they have some questions, or they need to update certain things. It's always good to log into the portal once in a while to make sure that all the information is complete. Second thing that's important for you guys, graduate students it's different than undergrad in terms of enrollment. So when you come to a graduate program, if you apply to a full-time program, you are a full-time student, regardless how many courses you're taking. So you could be a full-time student. For example, some programs in the fall will have 4 courses. In the winter, they may have 3, and maybe in the spring, summer, they don't have any courses. They're supposed to be working on your major research paper, on your thesis, things like that. Regardless of that, you're still a full-time student. That's a very important thing to know, because when you're submitting your application in OSAP, you have to indicate if you're a full-time student or a part-time student. Okay. At the creative school, most of our programs are full-time programs, sorry. The only 2 programs that have a part-time option is the Master of Digital Media and the Media and Design Innovation PhD. Right. So aside from those 2 programs, all of the other ones are full-time. So just make a note of that. If you're in any of the other ones, then you're a full-time student. So you can apply for a full-time OSAP when you submit into the portal. One difference, if anybody is here part-time, one of the difference with the part-time process is you have to submit an application per term. So each term you'll submit an application for OSAP. For full-time students, you basically submit it once for the full academic year. Okay. So let's say you begin your application now. I think the portal is actually now open, so you can begin that process. What you will do is you will create your let's say your budget, your income, all the different things. You add it to the system starting basically September 1st all the way to the end of August 2026. And that'll be the information that OSAP will use to assess for your funding, which includes, again, like I said, 3 semesters, fall, winter, and spring. Now, keep in mind, once your application is reviewed and approved and you start getting your funding, the payments or the installments, you only get 2 installments from OSAP, one in September and one in January. But both of those 2 installments include the funding for all 3 semesters. Okay, so it's very important to make sure that you plan accordingly, because you will not get a third payment in May at the beginning of the spring summer term, but you will have to pay tuition fees at the beginning of May. Okay, so just make a note of that. Just so you understand a little bit of fees, if you didn't attend our fee session, fees for graduate students, it's a flat rate for the year, split into 3 payments. Okay, so when you look at the student fees page, you'll see the cost of the tuition fee for your program for the full year. So that might be, I don't know, $11,000, let's say, excuse me, for a program. And when you actually pay them throughout the academic year, you'll pay a third in the fall, a third in the winter, and a third in the spring summer term. Okay, so that'll be usually the first month of each of those semesters. So September, January, and May, you're expected to pay your fees. So when you compare that to OSAP payments only happen in September and January. So always make sure you have that save the extra bit of money so you have enough money to pay for your spring summer term. Once you after you submit an application, everything's approved and everything, you will get confirmation via OSAP portal or an email letting you know that your funding has been approved and the amount and all the different details. Now, generally speaking, OSAP will send some of the money to cover your fees directly to the university, and you'll sort of see that on your My Service Hub account. You'll be able to see the money coming in from, I think it says like National Student Loans or something along those lines. And that will help you cover some of the fees. If you have enough funds, it might just cover the full tuition fee, and just all you have to make sure you do is that your tuition balance is 0. If maybe your OSAP amount is a little lower than the fees that you owe, so you gotta make sure that same thing, check My Service Hub at the beginning of each term to make sure that you don't owe any fees, to avoid any late fees. basically the rule is as long as you pay your tuition fees before the end of the first month each term, that you don't get charged tuition fees. If you wait until the second month, then you start getting charged interest for them. So make sure that it's just a matter of checking, make sure everything went through properly, and that your tuition fees balance is 0. That's it. Throughout the academic year, there are things that happen. So maybe you get a different job, maybe you get a scholarship or awards or external funding or all these different things. OSAP is based on income and assets and all these different financial information that you provide. So it's very, very important that if anything changes throughout the academic year, you update OSAP via the OSAP portal to let them know that, hey, I just received this amazing external scholarship from someone. So it's going to change your OSAP amount. And so basically what they normally do is the system will you input the information, then that will put your OSAP application into like a recalculation sort of mode, I guess. And so someone will take a look, and then if anything changes, they will let you know accordingly. If you're not sure if you receive a particular scholarship or funding or a different job or whatever, and you're not sure how is that going to affect your OSAP, the best point of contact again is the Student Financial Assistance Office. You can give them a call. They can quickly take a look at your profile. You can let them know what the change is, and they can sort of give you an idea as to how that's going to affect your funding, your grants, whatever else you've been receiving via OSAP. But again, very important to do this, because if you don't keep the information up to date, you might find that your OSAP funding is not accurate, and then if they find that out, you may be surprised with the change without knowing. So it's always good to check those different things. In terms of reporting awards and stuff like that, I would say if you do get any scholarship or any award, always check with the Student Financial Assistance Office. But generally speaking, if the scholarship or award comes directly through your My Service Hub account or through the university will usually automatically report those to OSAP directly. But if you're unsure, always just check with the Student Financial Assistance Office just to make sure that all the information is correct and you don't have to worry about any issues later on. All right. So this is probably the slide I guess you're going to use the most. So it is important for you to sort of, take a look at this one. I'll share the links and all the stuff later. We won't share all the links in the chat right now because there's a lot of them. But this is basically all the information that you would need, and it's all in one place. In terms of applying, hopefully you have the link to the portal. In terms of how long it takes to process your information and document, the deadlines, stuff like that. As of right now, the Student Financial Assistance Office is updating the websites for the 25-26 deadlines and dates. So right, if you go click on some of these links right now, you might still see 24-25. That's because all the updates happen in July once everything's approved. And so just keep checking. Go check over the next few weeks and you'll see the new deadlines for 25-26. As of right now, the main deadline to know is that the OSAP portal is open and you can begin your application. So if you're planning to apply, I would say just go ahead and start inputting your information, adding your documents, collecting all the financial details you may need to submit, and then go from there. Another important one, there's a section, the third link down, information by student group. The Financial Student Assistance Office has created a website which, depending on which program you're in, or rather not program, in which level of university you're in, so undergrad versus graduate and so on, they've actually have a specific section for you. So make sure you take a look at that. It's important to look in that section because there are differences between undergraduate and graduate OSAP and the requirements and stuff like that. So when you're looking at whether or not you qualify, always make sure you look at the graduate section of the website. And yeah, so I think for now I'm gonna leave it there in terms of this specific ones. I'll leave it up to you guys to go in there and take a look. If you do have any questions, stuff like that, sort of let us know about OSAP or contact the Student Financial Assistance Office, and we can go specifically into your own sort of situation, or they can go into your own specific situation. For just a couple of notes for domestic out-of-province students. Like I mentioned, OSAP is not, you're not eligible for OSAP because you're from a different province. However, If you do need help with paperwork, signatures, or proof of admissions, and any things like that, sometimes they will ask you the university to sign. You can send all that information per signature to funding@torontomu.ca. And then the Student Financial Assistance Office, their rep there, will basically take a look, review your profile, make sure everything is set, and then they will send it back to you so you can send it to your out of province aid office, and they'll provide all the details, what you need, all the application stuff like that. We do have a link here for if you look at the out of province aid website, there's links to each of the different provinces funding institutions, so you can use that to find out depending where you're coming from. I think they have Alberta, Saskatchewan, different places. You can go directly to the link there, and that way you know who to apply and how to submit the documents. In terms of funding, if you want to make sure that the funding has been received and added to your account, you can always complete what we call an account inquiry, which is basically just going through My Service Hub, and it will show you more or less, how much money you owe, how much money came in, from where it came from. So student loans, or maybe you paid for the bank, those kinds of things. And so it's give you like a nice breakdown of your funding and tuition fees and everything. Again, link on the instructions how to do that is on the slide, so you'll get a link for this later. And just keep in mind, for funding, depending on your financial institution or where it's coming from. For OSAP, for example, it's fairly quick, but for out of province, sometimes it can take up to 20 business days for the loans to be received by TMU. Just because there's multiple steps along the way and multiple agencies that the money goes through before it gets transferred to the university. So just keep that in mind. Try to apply as soon as possible so you don't get any delays in terms of your funding didn't make it by the first month of the semester, things like that. Normally, it's really only an issue in the first term, your first time you're doing OSAP, but usually by the second, third term, it's already everything's set up and ready to go. But just wanted to give you a heads up in case you get all the approvals and everything's there, but you still haven't seen your funding. It does tend to take a little bit of time to process, just because there's multiple entities in between. Again, and another just a quick note for international students. Generally speaking, each country may have their own version of OSAP or a province or funding agencies. So again, I would suggest you take a look at those. If you require any sort of paperwork or things like that, just contact us directly at the program office. We can try to guide you, or at least point you in the right direction to who to speak to, depending on what you need. One of the main resources for international students, if you don't already know, is the International Student Support Office. They basically manage anything to do with international students support, like immigration, some documents, sometimes status letters you might need, confirmation of degree completion at the end or at the beginning that you have accepted your offer. All those different things they can help you with that. And they are probably more knowledgeable in terms of immigration stuff like that we could ever be, because they actually train for those things, and we cannot. So we can't provide that kind of advice, but they should be able to help you with those things. And in some cases, they may have some resources as well for funding or for particular, government funding available in some countries. Not for every country in the world, but for some of them out there that are more, they may have a previous experience with. So reach out to them if you have any questions for that. All right. So that is kind of like before I move into this one, so that was kind of like the OSAP sort of overall government provided funding. We'll have I see there's a couple of questions in the chat. I'll go to them after we finish this portion. So now I want to focus more on the non-government side of things. So this is just the standard, financial institution loans. So this is kind of like, your bank, TD Bank or RBC or CIBC or whatever another financial institution you're attached to. This is just general information. I think the most important advice I can give you here is to speak to a financial advisor at your bank, at your financial institution. They can usually give you the best advice based on your background, the amount of time you've been with the bank, or your financial history and so on. But it's always good to take a look and see what's available out there. Many of the financial institutions, especially around this time of year, they know a lot of students are looking for loans or student or lines of credit and things like that. So do some research, go online, look at different banks, see what they offer. See if you can, sometimes they offer pretty good interest rates, lower than a regular loan would be. Sometimes they'll give you things like a line of credit versus a loan. And so there's different options in there. So always take a look at that. The things that you want to look for, or things you want to compare, is you want to make sure if you do get a loan from a bank, you can access the funds anytime, anyway, online, via credit card, debit card, sorry, or a quick transfer, e-transfer, those different options. Some loans are easier to access than others, so always double check how can I access my money and how long does it take. You also want to take a look at interest options, obviously the amount of interest, but also when are you getting charged interest? For example, a loan, generally speaking, they will charge you interest from the moment you get the loan until the moment you pay the whole thing, right? While a line of credit, in many cases, a line of credit, you only pay interest on the portion of money that you're actually using. So if you're not using, so let's say you get a $10,000 line of credit, but you haven't used any of it, you're not paying any interest in that amount, right? So double check with your bank account, with your bank, financial institution, sorry. What is the, which is better option for me? What options do you have? Do you offer both? That's a loan where I have to basically pay interest right away, or do you offer a line of credit where I only pay if I need it or if I'm using it? All right, so double check those options there. Some specifically for student loans or student lines of credit, a lot of banks will give you options to convert the lines of credit to a loan, maybe with a slightly lower interest rate when you finish your education, so you can make the payments a little easier. So also double check what happens at the end. It's not just like I get the money now, I use it, but also check the terms of payment. So what happens at the end? How can I pay this? Is there a period where maybe I don't have to pay interest, or is there a period where or a way, sorry, that I can maybe split the loan into smaller payments to make it easy or more manageable? So always double check that with your, again, financial advisor, and they'll be able to provide some options. And again, compare different banks. Different banks offer different things. While I was doing the presentation the other day, I was looking at some of the banks, and some of them are basically giving you free money if you get the line of credit with you. So they have like an incentive program. Hey, we'll give you $250 if you get a line of credit with us, kind of thing, right? So, but some of them didn't, but they offer maybe better interest rates. So always compare and look at those different things, because you will, again, every penny counts, right? So make sure you get the best option at that point. If you, I mean, this is the main sort of kind of things to look for. If you're not sure you need a line of credit, maybe a student line of credit, maybe you don't need it now, maybe you have your savings and you have all the exact amount you need for tuition and you're not worried about that. It might be a good idea to look into it anyway. Just take a look at what the options are, just in case you need it in the future. As you know, life changes very quickly, and there are unexpected things that happen. So always good to have a backup plan. And so a line of credit, especially if you're not paying interest while you're not using it, it may be a good thing to have, just as a backup in case you need it as an emergency or something comes up. It can also help you build credit for future. If you ever want to, buy a house in the future, things like that, you already have that experience in your history. And if you don't have to pay, if you're not paying any interest on it because you're not using it, then it's a zero cost option, but it's a good backup plan. So again, talk to your financial advisor, see there's an option like that, and just keep it on your keep it in your bank account and not use it. And it's there. It's just a good cushion in case you ever need it. So take a look at that. All right. So that's kind of financial institution loans and things like that. Just a piece of advice. Let's see 1 second here. And then again, just as a reminder, there are other ways to help you finance your studies, or to help you go through tuition and payments and those different things. Graduate Studies has a scholarships and awards website, so make sure to take a look at that. There's a tons of scholarships available that are university sponsored or university owned in a sense. They also have a section at the bottom called Other External Funding, where you can find external opportunities. So make sure you look at that. It's a huge drop-down list with a whole bunch of different things. You are sort of based on your background, education, different things, you can try to determine which ones you qualify for. The other option is AwardSpring. AwardSpring is the university system that we use for scholarships. You complete a profile, you log in, you add all your information, and then the system will match you with upcoming scholarships automatically. We will have a presentation about AwardSpring early in September, I believe. So you should be able to get more info there. But for now, it's as simple as going to the website, creating an account with your TMU email address, and then adding all your information. The important thing to note is you should update your information anytime there's a change again. So if every semester you go in there, take a quick look, everything's the same, great, no problem. If something changes, go right away in the WordSpring system and update it, because that will match you to different scholarships depending on your income, depending on your background, depending on different things. So it's always good to have it up to date. Third option is student employment. We have lots of different employment opportunities throughout the university. Most of them are listed under the careers website, under the student section. This could be positions like Career Boost, which is again government-sponsored program where we hire students to do a variety of things, from administrative to technology to help with equipment, graphic design, promotion, marketing, a whole bunch of different areas there. As well as academic assistantships, which is what used to be the teaching assistantships and graduate assistantships. So this is helping usually instructors or faculty members with their classes, or more on the academic side of things. And then, of course, research assistantships, which is SEMEDIA, but just helping now with instructors on their research. If they have a research grant or things like that, they usually need support. So you can apply for all of those. You can begin looking at those now, by the way. Right now, summertime it's a little quiet, but they will at the beginning, probably starting next month, you'll start seeing more of those things starting to pop up, and then they really get full in the beginning of the fall term, and then they get updated every throughout the academic year. So just take a look at that and sign up. There is a way you can sign up for email reminders. So anytime there's a new let's say a new career boost option or a new academic assistantship position, you can sign up for a quick email reminder, and it will sort of send you an email whenever a position is available. So it's an easy way of checking without having to go to the website every 5 minutes. And then the last thing, obviously, external funding sources. We've had several students find their own sort of scholarships or their own contests or external institutions that provided funding for their education. This one is pretty much a youth thing. You have to go online and just search online and search for different things, based on your background, academic or social background, your research topic, maybe you're part of an organization or a group, maybe or a member of a club or different things like that. Sometimes those will actually provide funding for education, depending on what you're studying or what the type of club is. So do a little bit of research on that. Just search online, and you'll find lots of different options there. Like I said, we've had people find sometimes random things, and it's a good amount of money. $5,000 here, $10,000 there, and some people have won contests for a photography contest, stuff like that. So again, do a little bit of research online. You'll find more options there. All right. I feel like I've been talking for 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop there. And that's the time now we can have some questions, and feel free to add them on the chat, and I'll go to the chat in a second. I think I saw one a little bit ago, or to raise your hand or mute yourself, and we can answer some of those questions. And just in a quick note before I go into questions, the link you see at the bottom here, Toronto Welcome Creative Grad, that's our onboarding website. So that's where you're going to find the links to the presentation slides and the recording. It'll be added probably by next week, early there, but it's all in that same website there. Okay, I see a hand. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Hello, Daniel. Thank you for this information. And hello, Tanisha. It's nice to meet you again. My name is Mustafa, and I'm upcoming student for Master of Journalism. And actually, I have a couple of questions. By chance, this morning, I was in Service Hub Budiem building, but I couldn't find even the entrance. So how can I go there? I need to know that because I need to set an appointment with the financial aid office.
Mhm.
I have a good news that I applied for Shirk and I got Shirk, but also
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But also I still need to know other funding resources like OSAP, and if there any conflict between OSAP and Shirk, what maximum amount of funding could I get? Because living expenses in Toronto, very expensive, and I need to create my budget and
Yeah.
still need some funding resources. So this is my first question. How can I set an appointment with financial aid advisor in the university, and also to help me to fill out OSAP application or other application, because actually I'm new in the country. I'm a newcomer, just arrived last year, and I need to make sure that everything in order.
Mhm.
So this is the first
Yeah.
question. My second question is,
Wait. Can I answer the first one, then you go to the second one?
yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
That way you don't forget. Thank you. Okay, so I think the service hub is it's on the main floor of the podium building. So as you're walking through the main, it's pod 150. If you look for a number, it's pod 150. But basically, as you're walking on the main floor, you see this area that kind of opens up. It's all white, and there's usually like a ticketing system on the corner. So you won't see sometimes a lot of people like there waiting and talking, like, representatives there, because they're actually inside in the back door, and not the back door, in the back part of the building, I guess. But there's a little, by one pod 150, there's a desk. Usually it's one person or two there, where you can sort of say, hey, I want to have an appointment with someone in the service hub, and they'll give you like a little ticket, or you can leave your name. I think last time you can even just swipe your one card if you already have it, something like that. If you are looking to speak about OSAP on the financial assistance website, they recommend actually you doing it by phone. So if you, the phone's on the screen right now, just write the phone number down and just call them between, basically today's Thursday, you can call them today after this presentation. And they will, hopefully you'll find someone in there, you talk to them, maybe they might be able to just answer all your questions by phone, or they can probably set up an appointment with you if there's something you actually need to be in person for. But in the website, they do recommend Tuesday to Thursday, 10 to 5, by phone number for OSAP inquiries. Okay.
And where is the entrance? I couldn't find it.
Yeah, so when it's hard to explain without being physically
Well,
on
when
campus.
you're
But
outside,
yeah,
and so the part of the podium building is like bordered by, on the north, Gerard Street. When you're faced, like you're on Yonge Street. On the north is Gerard Street.
Mhm.
On the south
Yeah.
is Gould Street. So the entrance to where the service hub would be, and the whole like my service hub would be on off of Gerard. So when you're walking on Gerard, you'd be walking east on Gerard, right? Then there's a pathway. You'll notice a pathway, the Nelson Mandela pathway. And then there's like an accessibility ramp. You can either walk up the accessibility ramp or like take the stairs, and there's a door right there. Once you walk into that door off of the street level, that gives you access to where the My Service Hub, I guess, department is. So it's
Okay.
just to get in the building. And as Daniel said, it's like a kiosk-based system. So there might be some individuals there to assist you, but you would either, I think you'd enter in like financial assistance, or you can like select it, or like student advising. You just pick the thing that you want to ask questions about. You may have to enter in your student number if you know it, and then you get a number and you just wait. So hopefully that's helpful, because it is kind of confusing until you get used to it. And truthfully, like, I'd still get a little confused after the pandemic and being away from the building. I mean, hence the stuttering. So I think I was clear as mud, but if you have any questions, please email me for directions by way of the journalism account, and I will answer your email.
Okay, thank you, Tanisha. And do I need any card to access the building?
you probably will need the one card to access the building. Yes.
Okay, this is a problem because I still don't have any cards.
If you
So
don't have it, yeah. So then I would say then try doing it by phone first. See if you can call them and everything. And if not, they'll let you know more or less how you can access it. You may be able to access it from the south end through the library, because there's usually more people traffic that way, and you may be able to just walk through without the card. I put a link on the chat to the maps, the campus map, so you can sort of see where the entrances are. You basically, on the south end of the building, which is basically Gould and Victoria Street, you basically would go in through the library building first, go to the first floor, and then walk north towards the podium building. So if you take a look at the map, that will make a little more sense, but it's basically just moving into, you have to go through the library and then towards the pod building. And if you go from Gerard Street, the one that Tanisha explained, you basically walking into, it's called Jorgensen Hall, and then you walk south towards the pod building.
Yeah,
So the pod is basically the building in between two big buildings. That's what they call the
I
pod.
tried both today, but I couldn't access because they asked for a card. So
Because of the
I'm
card.
also confused. Yeah, that's why I asked it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's another good point. You should definitely, as soon as you can, apply to get your one card access. You can do that online.
Okay.
And maybe we can put the link on the chat, Tanisha, in a second. And then you can start applying for that now. That way you can actually start getting your access soonish. You probably won't get your physical card until August, I believe that are the dates, but you might be able to start the process to get this process started so you can get your card sooner rather than later. But for now, I would say just give him a call and answer, and they can answer your questions that way. I think
Okay.
another part of your question was between OSAP and SHIRK.
Yeah, is there
There's not
any
really
conflict between
there's not really a conflict. There's not really conflict with OSAP and anything really, but it's more about how the scholarship or the SHIRK scholarship, for example, will affect your funding application in terms of income. So whenever you're applying for OSAP or for any other government student loans, generally speaking, if everything is based on your income, right? And how much money or how many resources you have already to pay for your education versus how much money you need to actually pay and cover the expenses for the education, right? And so if you have received SHIRK, for example, that will increase how much money you have, which usually will change how much funding OSAP can give you, right? It's kind of like a balance. So in other words, if you win $1 million, OSAP will say, well, you don't need OSAP, right? If you only win $1,000, they'll be like, well, maybe you still need it. So it really is a very specific calculation. So we cannot go in specific detail how it will affect your situation because it will depend on a whole bunch of other factors. But there is not really a conflict. It's more about how much it will affect your funding based on how much other income you have. So you can keep SHIRK, and a lot of people, I can tell you, a lot of students have had SHIRK and OSAP at the same time.
Okay, yeah.
But it does affect the funding amount. Like the final funding amount will be different.
Okay, I got
yeah.
it. So if it's not enough money, can financial aid advisor like advise me by the best opportunities that fit my situation? I explain for them.
They might be able to provide some resources. I think they may have some other resources that we might not mention, but alternatively, you should definitely take a look at the other like the scholarship options that we had here, like all of these ones right here. Scholarships, awards, award spring, career boost, all those different things. Those are the ones that are managed by the university, I guess, and that we have control over. So that's the ones we can sort of advise you on. And so the staff member in this financial assistance office may advise you to look at some of these resources as well. But they may have other ones as well, like some more external or things like that. But hopefully this one sort of helps a bit.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. My last question, I'm sorry.
No, please.
Okay, Master of Journalism program is 2 years. So when I apply to OSAP, should I apply year per year or 2 years together?
Yes, it's usually 1 year. So you do it for the academic year. So for 20, in this case, be 25 to 26 for the 3 semesters. And then usually you have to do a second application for the second year. Just confirm that when you talk to the financial assistance office, but that's usually the case.
Okay.
And then for specifically for journalism, it's a 5-term program. So your first year is 3 semesters, but your second year is usually only 2.
Yes,
So
exactly.
that might also change your application slightly. So double check with the financial assistance office when you're working on your application for the second year, because you're only applying for 2 semesters rather than 3.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No worries. Excellent. I see another question in the chat. My financial condition will definitely change once I study full-time in September, which is different from when I applied for OSAP now. Does it mean I should contact update and write in September? Yes. So when you're submitting your information to OSAP, you should be submitting it based on when you're going to be in the school, if that makes sense. So your budgeting and your income, those kinds of things should be based on the academic year that you're going to be on in the school. So starting, let's say, the fall term all the way to the spring term of next year. So if you already submitted information that maybe was from previous, from the last year rather than the upcoming year, you should definitely I would say contact the Student Financial Assistance Office so they can review your application, and then you can tell them item by item, hey, this is what I submitted, but I expect it to be this way instead, and they can advise you how to update or how to change it. But yeah, it's definitely important to make these updates and changes. You might be able to make the change now. I think that's Shan. So maybe you'll be able to make the change now, since we haven't started in September, but just double check with the financial assistance office just to make sure that everything's good. Just because yeah, it's important to update it. And this happens, that happens often, like where some people have maybe they get a part-time job or something like that, and that changes their income, and so just always changes that you can make. And you should be able to submit it through the OSAP portal. But just double check with financial assistance office just to make sure that everything that you submitted is correct, and then update us as needed. Okay. Don't see any other questions on the chat. If I missed something, or if you're missing a question, something, please let us know. Raise your hand, unmute yourself. It's all good. Otherwise, we can always sit here in
Hi
silence
there.
and look at each other.
Hi, can you hear
Hi,
me?
Amira. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing
I
well,
tried
thank
to
you.
ask a question through the Q&A function, but I'm not
Oh,
too
through the
sure
Q&A?
how
All
it
right. Let me see if I
works.
find it a second.
But I can repeat it if you need it.
Uh, sure. Since you're live, go ahead, actually.
So I was just curious because I was in another session about financial resources, and I know that the university offers student jobs on Career Boost. But when I look through Career Boost, it says we need to follow certain instructions and get approval as well for some of these careers. So I'm just
Yeah.
like a little confused, but maybe will this be updated like closer to August, or maybe we just have access because we're not fully students yet.
It could be a combination of both, actually. Yes. So for Career Boost, you do have to apply. And there's uh, 1, 2, 3. There's like 3 or 4 different versions of Career Boost. There's Career Boost for undergraduate students. There's Career Boost for graduate students, which is what you would qualify for. And there's Career Boost for graduate students who are international as well. So there's multiple areas. Now, depending on which category you fall under, the application process is a little bit different. I don't know if you already saw this website, but I'm going to put that on the chat. Here we go. So this is careers. So take a look at this website right there. And that has some of the, I guess, the application process, I would say. For Career Boost, domestic students. Yeah, so for Career Boost domestic students, you usually submit the application via a WordSpring, actually. So you may have to create a profile there. Usually you probably need your online identity confirmed. So that's your TMU email address. But as soon as you have that information, you should be able to start creating your profile and start looking at the different you can start looking at the what's it called? And the different options and positions and apply for those. But the approval basically it's reviewed by the university to confirm that you are a full-time student and that you are in one of the categories that you apply for. So graduate student versus undergraduate, or international versus domestic, those kinds of things. And then the website that I just put in the chat would be the best option in terms of going through like step by step how to apply. And then from there, basically submit your application. But yeah, it is because you're not matriculated yet. It might take a little bit for you to be able to get access to the system, as you would need your online identity, your TMU email address, and stuff like that to submit information there. But so it should be clear soonish. As soon as matriculation will happen mid-August, but hopefully be in end of July, beginning of August, you should be able to have all the other information like your email address, those kinds of things, if you don't already.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome. Trying to see if there's anything. I can also put the link to activate your online identity here. You may be able to start working on some of those things now. So go here. Doo-doo-doo. All right, so I'll put that on the chat. So yeah, if you go to that website, torontomu.ca/accounts, that's basically where you will look at getting started with your online identity, select students or applicants, depending. Yeah, students, and you can sort of see the different timelines. So they do expect it late July to mid-August. Where you can start updating your identity and stuff like that.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome. That's that. So I don't see another one on the Q&A. Good. So question, send us the slide presentation. Yeah, Mustafa, they'll be available on the website that's on the screen right now. Torontomu.ca/welcome. So we'll add them to this website and you'll be able to download the slides from that site. My guess is by early next week we'll add them in there. If we can do it today or tomorrow, we will, but it takes a little bit of time just for the recording to get processed and then uploaded. All right. Any other questions? All right. So what's a regular thing? Going once, going twice. Sold. No more questions. Okay, well, thank you very much, guys, for everything and for dropping by. I hope this was useful. Again, at any point in time, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the program email addresses, and we'll be here to support you. So we look forward to seeing you in the fall or at the next session coming up, which actually I should know which ones they are. And if you can see this on the screen, but these are the next sessions that are happening. So we have course enrollment coming up on July 9th next week. Then we have workshops for SHRC and grant application. We have my service hub and other tools, etc., etc. So take a look at the website, sign up, and hope to see you in one of the next ones. So again, thank you very much and have a great rest of your day.